The digital age has brought us closer together than ever before, but it has also created a perfect hunting ground for those who prefer to remain in the shadows. You swipe, you match, you chat. You think you know the person on the other side of the screen. You share your secrets, your location, and your trust. But what if that person isn't who they say they are? What if the face you've been falling for is just a mask worn by a monster? Tonight, we dive into 4 disturbing true stories of catfishing that went beyond simple lies and turned into living nightmares. These stories serve as a grim reminder that in the world of online dating, the only thing more dangerous than being alone is meeting the stranger you think you love. This is Night Tales, and these are stories you were never meant to hear. Story 1: The Shadow in the Alleyway. It was a cold, misty Tuesday evening in late October when I decided to finally go on a date with a girl I had matched with on Bumble named Chloe. Her profile was perfect, maybe too perfect. She was a dental student, loved 90s horror movies, and had a laugh that looked genuine in her photos. We had been texting for 3 weeks. Every morning started with a good morning text from her, and every night ended with us talking until 2 a.m. I felt a real connection, something I hadn't felt in years. She knew about my childhood, my job, and even the street I lived on. We agreed to meet at the Rusty Anchor, a dimly lit, old-fashioned restaurant on the outskirts of town. It was one of those places where the booths are high and the lighting is a sickly orange hue. I arrived at 7 p.m. sharp. I had picked out my best shirt and even bought a small bouquet of lilies, her favorite flowers. But 7:15 came, then 7:30. Chloe wasn't responding to my texts. My messages went from "I'm here" to "Is everything okay?" to "Hey, let me know if you can't make it." The restaurant was nearly empty, the only sound being the ticking of an old clock and the distant clatter of dishes in the kitchen. Just as I was about to call for the check and slink home in embarrassment, the heavy wooden door of the restaurant creaked open. A man walked in. He looked to be in his late 40s, wearing a tattered black hoodie and jeans that looked like they hadn't been washed in weeks. He didn't look like he belonged in a place like this. He scanned the room with a frantic, twitching energy until his eyes locked onto mine. There was a hunger in his gaze that made the hair on my neck stand up. He walked straight to my table and sat down in Chloe's seat without saying a word. I was stunned, my heart starting to thud against my ribs. "Are you Mark?" he whispered. His voice was gravelly, like he had been screaming for hours or hadn't spoken to a human in days. "Yeah, who are you? Where's Chloe?" I asked, gripping the edge of the table. "I'm Chloe's brother, Marcus," he said, staring at the flowers on the table with a strange, predatory grin. "She's out in the car. She's too shy to come in. She's having a massive panic attack. She wants you to come out and talk to her. She's been waiting for you, Mark." Every instinct in my body went into high alert. "Why wouldn't she just text me? Why is she in the car?" I asked. Marcus leaned forward, his face inches from mine. I could smell stale cigarettes, rot, and something metallic on his breath. "The phone died, Mark. Don't be a jerk. She's crying her eyes out for you. Just come to the car. It's parked in the dark alley behind the kitchen." The alley. The dark, unlit alley where the restaurant disposed of its trash. A place where no one would hear a struggle. "No," I said, my voice trembling but firm. "Tell her to come in here, or I'm leaving." The man's face transformed instantly. The fake politeness vanished, replaced by a cold, sharp anger. He stood up, towering over the table. "You think you're better than us? You've been talking to her for weeks. You owe her this. You don't know what we've planned for you." I didn't wait for another word. I threw $20 on the table, abandoned the flowers, and bolted for the front exit. I didn't look back until I reached my car and locked the doors. As I fumbled with my keys, I looked at the restaurant window. Marcus was standing there, his forehead pressed against the glass, watching me with a dead expression. I sped away, my heart racing at 100 miles an hour. When I got home, I immediately went to block Chloe's profile. But there was a new message waiting for me from an unknown number. It was a photo of me sitting at the restaurant table, taken from the perspective of someone standing just outside the window in the dark. The caption read, "I told you Marcus would find you. We followed you home, Mark. We're standing in your backyard now." I looked toward my sliding glass door and saw a shadow move. I didn't call the police. I grabbed my keys and drove to a hotel 3 cities away. I moved out of that apartment the next week. I never found out who Chloe really was, but I know one thing. Marcus wasn't a brother. He was the hunter, and I was almost the trophy. Story 2. The backside of the bar. I've always been a bit of a loner, so when I matched with Sarah on Tinder, I was genuinely excited. She was adventurous, had photos of her skydiving, traveling, and she seemed genuinely interested in my boring life as a software engineer. We talked for about a month before she suggested meeting at a local arcade bar, a place that stayed open until 3 a.m. and was known for its retro vibe. It was a Friday night and the rain was pouring down in heavy, blinding sheets. I pulled into the parking lot of the bar, but it was surprisingly empty for a weekend. I sat in my car, watching the windshield wipers struggle against the storm. My phone buzzed. It was Sarah. "Hey, I'm actually around the back," the text read. "The front door is jammed or something, and I'm parked near the loading dock. My car won't start and I'm freezing. Can you come help me jumpstart it? I'm in the red sedan." Now, I'm a helpful guy, but something about the wording felt off. The front door is jammed? That made no sense for a public business. I looked at the bar. The lights were on inside, and I could see the bartender through the window. "Why don't you just come inside? I'll call a tow truck for you," I replied, feeling a knot of anxiety in my chest. Seconds later, she sent a photo. It was a picture of a dark, wet car in a very shadowy area behind the building, right next to the massive trash compactors. "Please, I'm scared. There's a guy walking around back here and I don't feel safe. Just come back here for a second. I need you." I decided to be cautious. Instead of walking, I kept my car doors locked and drove around to the back of the building. I kept my high beams on, cutting through the darkness and the rain. The back of the bar was a graveyard of old crates and overflowing dumpsters. As my lights swept across the area, I saw the red sedan. But as I got closer, I realized the windows were tinted pitch black, and the license plate was covered with mud. I stopped my car about 20 feet away and honked. No one got out. I rolled down my window just an inch. "Sarah!" I shouted over the sound of the rain. Suddenly, the back door of the bar, the heavy steel service door, flew open. 2 men, not a girl, stepped out. They weren't wearing bar uniforms. They were wearing heavy military-style coats and masks. One of them was carrying a heavy industrial chain, and the other had something tucked into his waistband that looked unmistakably like a handgun. At the same time, the car in front of me turned on the lights. They weren't trying to get help. They were trying to box me in. I was the prey in a coordinated ambush. I didn't think. I slammed the car into reverse, my tires screaming on the wet asphalt. I hit a dumpster, the sound of metal on metal echoing through the alley, but I didn't stop. I swung the wheel around and floored it back toward the main road. As I sped away, I saw the 2 men running toward the street, trying to catch up, their figures disappearing into the rainy gloom. When I got home, I realized Sarah's profile had been deleted. The police later told me that the bar had been closed for private renovations that night, which is why the parking lot was empty. The people inside weren't staff. They were a gang that had been using dating apps to lure men to the back of the building to rob and kidnap them. They found a digital camera on a tripod near the dumpsters. They were planning to film whatever they were going to do to me. Story 3: The Christmas Confession. This story is about my sister, Emily. Emily is the kind of person who believes the best in everyone, a trait that almost cost her everything. In 2022, she met David on a niche dating site. David was a traveling architect currently working on a high-profile project in London. He was handsome, sophisticated, and sent her long, poetic letters that he would scan and email to her every single day. They talked for 6 months. They dated via video calls, although David's camera was always broken or the connection in the hotel was too weak. Emily didn't care. She loved his voice. It was deep, soothing, and felt like home. He told her he was coming home for Christmas and wanted to spend it with our family. Emily spent weeks preparing. She bought him expensive gifts, told our parents all about him, and even cooked his favorite meal. The day he was supposed to land, she went to the airport with the sign that said, "Welcome home, David." She waited for 6 hours. He never walked off that plane. She called him, sobbing, her heart breaking in the middle of the crowded terminal. Finally, he picked up. But he wasn't in an airport. It was quiet where he was. "Emily, I have to tell you something," he said, his voice trembling. "I'm not in London. I'm not an architect. I'm actually only 3 miles away from you. I've been watching you all day." Emily froze. "What are you talking about, David?" "I'm a catfish, Emily. The photos, they belong to a model from Germany. I'm actually 19. I'm a student. I was just lonely, and then I realized I really loved you, and I couldn't stop the lie. I've been sitting in my car outside your house every night just to feel close to you." Emily was heartbroken and terrified. She told him never to contact her again and blocked him on everything. She thought the nightmare was over, but a catfish's obsession doesn't end just because the lie is exposed. On Christmas Eve, as we all were sitting around the tree, there was a heavy, aggressive knock at the door. We thought it was a neighbor. Emily went to open it. Standing there was a young man, barely out of high school, holding a single red rose in one hand and a massive, gleaming kitchen knife in the other. "If I can't be David, then nobody can have you," he whispered, his eyes wide and vacant. My father tackled him before he could step inside. The struggle was violent, but we managed to pin him down until the police arrived. It turned out this kid had been stalking Emily's social media for months, learning our address and our every move. He hadn't just been lying about his face. He had been planning a murder-suicide and to end their love story. Story 4: The Man Sitting Next to Me. This happened to me about 2 years ago. I was living in a new city and didn't know anyone, so I joined a few apps. I matched with Jenna. She was a fitness trainer, very fit, very outgoing. We agreed to meet at a crowded sports bar on a Friday night during a big football game. I figured a crowded place with hundreds of witnesses was the safest possible option. I got there early and took a seat at the bar. A man sat down next to me. He was probably in his late 50s, balding, wearing a grease-stained shirt. He smelled like old onions and decay, and he kept staring at my phone screen. I tried to ignore him, moving slightly away, but he kept sliding his stool closer until our shoulders were almost touching. I messaged Jenna. "I'm here, sitting at the bar in the red flannel shirt. Where are you?" The man next to me pulled out his phone. I heard the distinct ping of a Tinder message notification. My blood turned to ice. I glanced at the man's screen. He was looking at my profile. He was looking at the message I had just sent. "Jenna?" I whispered, the word feeling like ash in my mouth. The man turned to me and smiled. It was the most disturbing smile I've ever seen. yellowed, broken teeth, and eyes that looked completely devoid of humanity. I told you I was a trainer, didn't I? I train people to be afraid, he laughed, a low, guttural sound. I stood up so fast I knocked my bar stool over, the sound echoing in the crowded bar. I ran out of the place, not caring who was watching. I got into my car and sped home, my hands shaking so hard I could barely steer. That night, I couldn't sleep. Around 3 a.m., I heard a faint, rhythmic scratching sound at my bedroom window. My heart nearly stopped. I pulled back the curtain just an inch, praying I was dreaming. The man from the bar was standing in my flower bed, right outside my window. He was holding his phone up to the glass. On the screen was the Jenna profile. He tapped the screen, winked at me, and pointed to the front door. I called the cops immediately, but by the time they arrived, he was gone. He had left a Jenna business card tucked into the frame of my window. On the back, written in red ink, it said, "I'm coming inside next time. Don't be late for our date." I moved out of that city the next morning. I realized that the person you're talking to isn't just a profile. They are a stranger. And sometimes, that stranger has been sitting right next to you the whole time, waiting for you to look up from your screen. In the world of the internet, we are all vulnerable. We want to believe in the best of people. We want to find love. But predators use that desire against us. They build digital kingdoms out of lies and wait for us to walk through the gates. Be careful who you talk to. Be careful who you trust, because the person behind the screen might be the last person you ever see. Trust your gut. If something feels off, it usually is. Stay safe, stay alert, and never go to the alley. I am Sayful, and you are watching Night Tales. Sweet dreams, if you can.